All right, welcome. We have one empty screen for the second, but there we go. There's the rest of our final three. All right, so welcome, final three. Uh, it is time. It is time for final tribal. So here is how this is going to work. Each of you will have 5 minutes for your opening statements, and then the jury will come in and ask you questions. They each have 10 minutes, okay? And then you will each have 5 minutes for your closing. So whatever Alex has decided for the order that will go for opening, we'll do the reverse for closing statements. Do you have any questions? All right, so I will just ask also that if you are not going to be the one talking, that I just ask you to just shut your camera off, okay? So that way we can have all the focus on the person that is talking. When the jury's in, you can keep your cameras on because they can continuously talk to everybody. Okay, cool. We will give you guys a 1 minute warning. Does that sound good? All right. So, Alex, I will let you go ahead and tell everybody what the order will be then.
You're on mute.
You're muted, Alex.
Of course I am. I will be going first, and I think in the moment I completely am forgetting who I said the second and third. I don't remember.
I believe you said you wanted Tamara second and Kat third. Is that what you'd like?
Sure.
All right. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself. Oh, Megan is going to be the one that give you guys the time updates. Okay.
Yes, I will be timing you all. So since Alex will be going first, we'll start with Alex. Kat and Tamara, if you could just mute and turn your cameras off while Alex is doing their speech. Perfect, beautiful, thank you. And then Alex, whenever you're ready, let me know and I will start your 5-minute timer.
I was gonna say, hallowed be thy name. I'm good to go.
Okay, your 5 minutes will start now.
Okay, so this is super awkward because I was expecting I'd be able to actually look at the jury, but apparently that's not the case. So here we go. I just want to start off by saying, hey, everybody, so excited to be here defending my case, and what a wild and fabulous ride this has been. I'm so grateful to be a part of all of this, regardless of how things shake down tonight. As far as the game, I came into this game pretty much wanting to accomplish a couple of things. Have a good time, not take things personally, preferably not get in a fight with anyone as I had in the last couple games I had been in. And most importantly, just enjoy getting to know people. And I can say just shy of getting in a fight with someone tonight, which I don't see happening, but we'll see. I accomplished those things. So my cup is very full. I'm very happy to be here. I have nothing but time and energy to address any concerns or criticisms that are towards my game. That being said, I am very proud of what I've accomplished. I do feel as though I have a game that is worth talking about and is worth talking about in a very positive light. Just as far as what I tried to bring to the game, I tried to not be particularly assuming. I realized very quickly in certain relationships that I was forming, it was kind of difficult for me considering how I work nights, which is when a lot of people are up communicating, strategizing, making relationships. I was at work 5 nights a week. And then usually because I work so late, I also, I tend to sleep in, and I was waking up when most of the tribe was already into their afternoon. So not that I deserve a pat on the back or anything like that, but that was something that did make navigating the game strategically and socially somewhat difficult for me. So as far as my presence in the game, I always wanted to be a workhorse as far as challenges go. I think that's why, at least on original Sahin and Canavar 2.0, I don't believe that I was really in much danger. Other than Canavar 2.0, there was obviously the obvious fact that there was a numbers minority. Still the rudest birthday gift I have ever been given by a production team in any game I've ever been in. Not still mad, but still a little mad. So yeah, that was definitely it. So I don't think strategically too many people have much to say about what they saw me do, and that's just because I tried really hard not to vocalize it. At Canavar 2.0, we immediately realized we were in a minority, and since it was 6-8 from original Canavar to original Sahin, I knew we were in trouble. So if anything, I was like, let me backpedal on strategizing, let me backpedal on the game and just get to know these people so that I can hopefully shrink my target, and hopefully Caitlin and Tyler would have the bigger targets. Caitlin was really big on trying to get someone from Canavar to flip because she said that wasn't good for them to just stick to original tribal lines, which I only found funny because that's exactly what she was trying to do, which is why I was like, this plan makes no sense. So Caitlin sadly was kind of upsetting people or getting on people's radar by trying to be so strategic. And I kind of just handed her the rope to keep doing it. I kind of encouraged her to do it. And ultimately she left. Same with Tyler. He was the one who was like, after Caitlin left, was really upset. Strategically, I knew it's going to be him or me, and it's probably going to be a split vote, which it was. So I was like, yeah, Tyler, tell them all about it. Tell them how upset you are. Do it for Caitlin. Meanwhile, I was still building those connections with Canavar and trying to make sure that if it was a split vote between the two of us, Tyler would go and not me. And I also set it up in a way that I was always going to vote for Tyler anyway. And I knew that someone was going to encourage me to vote for Tyler and then try and take credit for it, which is kind of what happened. Sorry, Jason. But I knew that was potentially going to happen. And when that's exactly what happened, I knew I had struck gold. And then I made it to the merge. Long story short, because I know I'm almost done with my 5 minutes. With the merge, immediately afterwards, after being in the spotlight on Canavar 2.0 as long as I was, I just needed a round or two to breathe because the level of stress and anxiety the week of my birthday was definitely something that I was like, I need a break from being in the spotlight. The bigger personalities, the ones that are wanting to be the Boston Robs, the ones that are wanting to be the Parvati's, they can go ahead and do their thing. Over the course of the rest of the game, it became very apparent that people that I was working with or wanted to work with were working with far more people than I were and having those strategic connections. And I don't fault them. I don't blame them. But I also was like, eventually there is going to be that moment where they have to either show their cards or betray someone. I tried to minimize that as much as I could. Ultimately, I recognized who the big threats were to my game and who potentially, if I were to go to the end with, they could say, oh, Alex just voted the way that we did. Canavar didn't necessarily need me once the merge started. Sahin had multiple people with multiple alliances. My feelings and my thoughts on the game weren't really being considered much, so I knew I had to be a lone wolf. That's how I played the game. That's how I got here. Thank you to all of you, and good luck to Kat and Tamara.
Okay. And that is 5 minutes. Just got it in, Alex. Thank you so much. You can now go off camera. And then next up, we do have Tamara going second with her opening speech. Hello, Tamara. You look lovely. Alex is lovely as well. I'm sorry I didn't tell you that. Whenever you are ready, Tamara, I will count you down and start your timer.
I'm ready. So,
okay, Tamara. Go ahead.
Hi, Tracy. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Prod, for this amazing season. And thank you to Kat and Alex for sitting next to me in this final tribal council. Immediately, I wanted to go into this game and I wanted to put in the work. So I did. I got close with everybody and I did it so well that for the entirety of the pre-merge, I had never heard my name brought up once. I was in multiple alliances with Esteban, Jason, and Dave. I was also really close with Kat. And I was in 2 major alliances called the Canavar family and the Secret Agents, which was the driving force of Canavar. Even with Anthony, with Alfie, with Andrew, I was completely solid that they never targeted me. The swap came and I continued to put in work. I was in a group chat with the swapped Sahin members where I became close to Alex, where we swore to always advocate for each other on our respective sides. I understand that Jason and Kat also felt close to Alex. So naturally, working with Alex would be great. And we were able to keep our relationship under wraps for the rest of the game. After Caitlin left, I told Kat about Jason's idol, which completely changed my direction because she and I became inseparable at that point. She lost trust in Jason. She gained trust in me. It was all great. And I was also working with Jason and Esteban, but I had to start distancing myself from them because Esteban clocked me for not telling him about the Secret Agents Alliance because he heard it from Jason. And Jason clocked me for working with Alfie, working with the OG Sahin when his name was being brought up. And so I had to keep myself distant from them, but also, you know what they say, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. And that's what I did. I really wanted to work with Kat the most because she was the good cop to my bad cop. She never really lied to everyone when I was spilling everyone's secrets. And so we formed this alliance called the Vixens. She asked me of a potential third ally we can go to the end with. And I said Alex, because I knew he wanted to work with me, and to know later that they both felt great with each other was just a cherry on top. So when the merge came, I met up with Dave again. I immediately told him about Jason's idol. It strengthened our trust in each other, and it's indicative that he did trust me because he gassed me up to Brian, to Malkin, and we formed a cross-tribal alliance called the Baddies Take Merge Dominance. I was aware Malkin, Brian, and Dave all felt close together, and I sat along for the ride. I wanted to lean back because I wanted to let all of the big threats take each other out. After it happened, Jason and Esteban got all the votes from them on the OG Sahin side, with Dave, Kat, and I informing Jason to play his idol and Esteban the next round. Amy and Theory were the casualties. I wanted to side with OG Canavar, but because of Dave's metamorphosis to Dave 2.0, our plans to take out Steve and to split up Malkin and Brian needed to be reevaluated, and Esteban and Jason needed to go because Alex wanted to keep Esteban around. I wanted to keep Esteban around because after Theory left and Esteban started to be targeted, I knew that there was some subconscious bias that could come into play where all of the minority could be taken out one. And I didn't want that to happen. But yet I also realized I'm also really close with the Baddies Alliance. I'm also good with Steve. I didn't want to break rapport with them and cause a bigger target on my back since nobody has mentioned my name for the entirety of the merge at that point. So I checked in with Alex. I checked in with Kat. We decided to flip with Dave and send Esteban and Jason home, and it worked. The risk worked because everybody still wanted Steve to go at the final 7, and when he did, it was game time. Kat made the alliance chat with Alex and I called the ATC, and I was really interconnected with my Baddies Alliance. I had this McDonald's Alliance with Brian, Dave, and Steve, and then I also had the ATC Alliance. I was connected with everybody, and at the final 6, Dave and Brian wanted to take Alex out. Alex and Malkin wanted to Dave out. I wanted Brian to go. Kat wanted Brian to go. And Brian and I were super close because we were the only people in our 20s to survive the pre-merge. And unfortunately, Brian caught wind of the plan. He switched his vote, setting Dave home. And immediately I tapped into female manipulator mode. I lied to Brian and Malkin. In part of Dave's vote out, this gave ambiguity to Malkin and Brian that Alex could have been the second vote against Brian. And I told Alex about it, and he was cool. He was still wanting to work with me and wanted to go to the end with me. However, Malkin stalled right through my lie and decided to vote against me. But because of my great rapport with Alex and with Brian, they both turned on their close ally Malkin, and on top of that, with some great female manipulation from Kat, Brian even played his idol on her. And because the vote ended up being 4-1, Brian saw for the first time that I was really close to Alex, and that sent him into game overdrive. He threw all of our names out. He needed to win final immunity. Kat, Alex, and I swore we'd go final 3 together. Alex won immunity. Sorry, Brian, but he had to go at 4th because he was going to win this game. He had 4 immunities. He found an idol, and he was a great social and strategic threat all around. So, jury, I hope that you can see the strong and strategic social game I played, and I did it. At only 23 years old, trans, Black, a part-time sex worker, and I truly feel that I am deserving of your vote to win triumph. Thank you.
That is 5 minutes. Thank you so much, Tamara. You can now mute again and go off camera. And then finally, for our last opening speech, we have Kat. Kat, are you ready?
2 seconds.
Okay, 1, 2. Okay. Alrighty, Kat, your 5 minutes for your speech will start now.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you, the jury. Thank you for production. I'm going to start off by talking about how I was brought into the game as an alternate. I remember Sam telling me very early on that everything happens for a reason, and obviously that is true, because not only did I make it all the way to the final tribal council, but I had 0 votes cast against me the entire game. I was on the right side of the numbers for the majority of the votes, except for 2. The one where I didn't have a vote, which was the Alfie vote, and the one where Dave went home. I was always a long shot to win challenges due to my health limitations, but I never let that stop me. I decided to use the other tools in my arsenal to help me navigate my way through the game. I relied on my strategic and social game and playing the middle at the merge. I started off the game wanting to be loyal to OG Canavar, but at somewhere along the way, things changed for me. Early pre-merge, I built bonds with Dave, Jason, Tamara, and created the Secret Agents Alliance. I also created the Three Musketeers with Dave and Jason at that point. Tamara ultimately proved to be a very valuable ally early on, and at the swap, we met Alex, and I also had a strong feeling about him. After Caitlin left, I was informed Jason had the idol and didn't want me to know about it. I lost trust in Jason over time, and from then on, it became all about Tamara. At double elimination, the decision to get out Tyler was overall decided by all of us. Deep down inside, I really wanted to keep Alex. Early in the merge, I created the Vixens Alliance with Tamara, and then shortly after, created the Romeo and Juliet Alliance with Alex, based off a very deep bond and a very deep conversation about us being a part of two warring tribes. From there, I worked strategically and made decisions that were best for my game moving forward, and that ultimately led to Esteban and Jason being voted out. And at Final 7, I created the ATC Alliance with Tamara and Alex. And we worked together from then on and stayed on all in the same votes, except for the Dave vote. And from there, the last thing I'll talk about is my biggest move in the game, which was convincing Brian to play his idol on me. And even though I knew I wasn't going to get any votes. And that ultimately led to Malkin being sent home. At Final Challenge, ATC all outlasted Brian, and Alex secured the final win of the season. Brian is a legend on all cylinders, and had it not been for that, he probably may have gone to the end of the game, but we were so strong in trying to outlast him in that challenge. I always played strategically. I used my social ability. I never won a challenge. I was an underdog the entire game. I had 0 votes cast against me. All of these things combined, I feel like I deserve a shot at winning this game, and I hope you guys will see through. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, Kat, is that all? You're good?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. And I do believe all finalists can come.
Yes. Megan, you're a bit choppy, but yes. Thank you very much, Final 3. The wonderful speeches. Now it's time for the jury portion of this FTC. So I will call them in one by one. They will get 10 minutes to ask you whatever they want. And yeah, our first member of the jury who will be asking questions is Steve.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Steve.
So I want you guys to know I have some notes written on my phone, so I'm going to be reading from here from now, okay? So just give me a few seconds at the very beginning. Has my time already started, Megan? Or Kat, Sam, or whoever?
I can start it right now for you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So first of all, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Congratulations, Final 3. You guys all deserve it. Props to all 3 of you guys. Nothing but love, okay? Like straight up, okay? I had an absolute blast playing with you guys this game. Some with you guys with, some of you guys against. But I want you guys to know I really did have a blast playing with you guys this entire time. I have a whole new respect for what the 3 of you guys have accomplished. I didn't realize it was going to be this hard. Props to you for doing it, type of thing, okay? I have a comment for each one of you guys. Then I have a question for one person. I just wanted to kind of go through and let you guys know where I was at. So I'm going to start out with Tamara because you're the first person on my list here. You're a legend, girl. Like straight up, you are a legend. I didn't always understand what you were saying in the game, but I always loved listening to you tell the stories, kind of thing. That's straight from the heart. I was nervous coming to this game. It's my first org, and you not taking it so seriously, you keeping the humor in it actually made me so comfortable. Like I really, really enjoyed listening to you so many times. So like for real, thank you for everything that you guys did. Kat, you're the next person on here. So you and I have a unique situation because of what happened in the game. I just want you to know, like, from the bottom of my heart, no hard feelings. Like, on a personal level, no hard feelings at all. When the swap happened, I didn't see it coming. Like, I was convinced that there was no swap at that point. Dave got brought into our tribe, and I went into defense mode trying to keep Brian and Dave separate because I really didn't want them to team up together. And so I went into defense mode trying to keep my number one alliance member separate from the person who I was most afraid of in the game. And I felt like I was juggling a bunch of balls, and my game was getting really thin. And so when this merge happened, there was just some people that I didn't have time to juggle extra balls. And unfortunately, you were just one of them that I didn't have time to juggle. And so I didn't reach out to you. You didn't really reach out to me. So ultimately, whenever you left, just know that I took nothing personal. It was nothing but game to me. So we good. I just want you to know that from the bottom of my heart, we're good. As far as jury management goes, I don't really think it was the smartest move. But like I said, in season 4 of Triumph, any forward time, everything like that, we're solid. Trust me, like, I just want you to know that there is no hard feelings at all. Alex, many times did I hear you say, other than talking with your hands, there's not a lot to you. And I want you to know that you couldn't be farther from the truth. You're an incredible, amazing guy. You're so charismatic. You're sweet. You have ability of captivating people whenever you talk. You're a natural performer. I just want you to know you deserve the spotlight and you deserve everything you've got, man. Like, you're great. So with that said, this is going to be my question. This is where Game Steve comes back on. This is where I become a juror. And so my question comes to Alex. I have one question with your game that I'm just not real sure of, and I would just like to get a little bit of clarification now that it's all kind of said and done. Back on the original Sahin tribe before the Joel vote, I came to you and laid out a plan to split the vote between Tyler and Joel.
Yep.
And I explained to you that Joel didn't have a vote. And so it was going to be 3 votes for Tyler, 3 votes for Joel, and then wherever they were going to vote with. And so I had laid out this entire thing knowing, like, okay, nobody can flip because it won't benefit any one person to flip. It'll take 2. And I knew I didn't have 2 people flipping. And so I was pushing Tyler only because I had accidentally said Tyler's name to Caitlin, and her and Tyler were close. So that's the reason I was pushing so heavily for Tyler. Mm-hmm. I didn't understand why you voted into the minority. I guess that was the one thing that I just didn't understand, because I even went back to make sure that I told you Joel didn't have a vote. Like, I was just like, maybe that was the problem, but I made sure I did. So can you explain the thought process behind that one?
Yeah. So thank you for the question. Also, thank you for the accolades. Me saying there's not much to me. My big strategic mindset throughout the game was anything that could be perceived to potentially make me a target, I want to go ahead and shrink that target as much as humanly possible. So anytime you heard me say a comment like, oh yeah, there's not much to me, I'm just big hair and I talk with my hands, that was me just saying, I am unassuming, I am not a threat to your game. If you have any plan that involves me, you should stick to that plan. So that was more so my intention by saying things like that. It wasn't to be self-deprecating. It really was to try and take, of all the people that were around in the game with big personalities, big strategists, things like that, I wanted to shrink that at every opportunity I possibly could. That being said, if you told me, you said that you went back and checked, if it was a comment, if it was said in a vocalized conversation that was recorded, I had zero recollection of you telling me that Joel did not have a vote. So it is possibly on me that I just overlooked that message, or maybe I was distracted while we were talking. It wasn't until after Joel left, I was like, how did that even happen? And Tyler told me Joel gave up her vote for tribal council in the scavenger hunt. So by no means was it meant to make you look bad. Was it meant to hurt your game? I was not aware that Joel did not have a vote. That also being said, I felt like our conversations, as much as I appreciated them, I got the vibe like Steve is a player. Steve is a gamer. Steve is a strategist. And I picked up on that relatively early. So when information from the relationships I was building on original Sahin started coming back, like Steve is trying to be this person, Steve is stirring the pot. For me, I was like, it very well could be me. The last Skype-esque game that I played in, I was the second person voted out at my tribal council. You were coming to me with this split plan, and I was like, I'm not feeling it. As much as I appreciate and love Tiru, he was the person on the tribe I had a very, very limited relationship with, purely because his time zone and my time zone were the most incompatible in the game. So it really was one of those things where I'm like, I could do this, and I feel like this would benefit Steve. I don't see how me getting rid of Tyler or Joel is beneficial for my game, because I did have a strong relationship with both of them. So I was like, I don't feel the need to just go with someone else's plan because it's going to work for them. So that's why I didn't go with that plan. If you did tell me Joel did not have a vote, I promise you, me voting was not with that in my mind, because I was not aware.
Cool, man. That's the only thing I had. Like that was my only question. It was just like that one didn't make sense. It wasn't a video, so it could have been easily just overlooked type of thing. So, but no, man, we're good. We're solid. I don't have any other questions for you guys, so I guess I can give up the rest of my time. Thank you guys so much for everything you've done. Nothing but love. Love you guys all.
Steve, you're amazing.
I know.
Agree.
Thank you very much, Steve. I will remove you. Fabulous. Next, we have Theru. He's not here, but he's left a nice little message for you guys. He has said, well played. We're all here for the mutual love of Survivor, so I believe that the jury will take this into consideration without any bitterness. However, all three of you have played safe games to get here, not using immunity idols, not winning many challenges, not antagonizing anyone. Can you each name the moves that you are the most proud to make in this game? Let's start in alphabetical order. Alex, Kat, then Tamara.
So the moves that I'm the most proud of are effectively implementing my relationships that I was building on Canavar 2.0. Basically coming in and being like, yes, I will edit the music video challenge. Because I knew if I did a good enough job, which I felt I could do, that would make me more desirable to keep, because they're like, wow, this guy may help us win challenges. So basically surviving Canavar 2.0, it was my first real crowning achievement in this game, just because I know that I could have been trying to stir the pot. I could have been doing that, but I literally looked at the situation and said, these people just want to have someone that is not going to stir the pot, that's not going to do that. Caitlin and Tyler, we're not thinking that mindset, and I absolutely pushed them to keep doing what they were doing so that they would be targets and my target would continue to shrink. That was the MO that I had throughout the entirety of the game. My next big move, I would say, would be knowing that strategically, I already knew that Brian was a huge threat to win the game. And going into the merge, Malkin, who at the time was probably my closest ally, Malkin did not have time to listen to any idea, any plot, any theme that involved getting rid of Brian, which to me was completely wild, because I had absolutely every desire to see Brian out of this game, because I knew what a threat he was going to be in the game. So the fact that when in Final 7, I wanted to try and keep Steve, and Brian kept pushing I wanted to keep Steve. Brian kept pushing to get rid of Steve. I wanted to get rid of Dave. And as much as I pushed, Brian kept pushing back. And then ultimately it was just like, oh yeah, Malkin's already told Steve that he's going, so I guess we're just voting for Steve. And that had been like the third round in a row where I was like, these people are not giving any signs that they care about what I think in this game, who I want to vote for. They're not taking my votes into consideration. I'd actually voiced that concern, not only to Steve, but also to Malkin rounds before. And I knew the only way that I have any shot of winning this game is I have to get rid of Brian and I have to get rid of Malkin. Because if I don't, I go to the end and all they have to say is Alex voted however we wanted the entire game. And I could not have that, so I had to get rid of the two of them. And that's when the relationships I had already built, both with Kat and Tamara, came into play, and I was able to not only keep myself safe, but get rid of the people that were a detriment to me winning this game. And then of course, last but not least, winning that final immunity challenge. Back in my gaming days in the early of my org career, I wasn't always a challenge beast, but I usually could squeak by at least one, if not two competition wins, if not way more. So it was pissing me off. I could not do anything to win a challenge. So winning that final challenge, even though it wasn't the most dramatic and probably the shortest competition in org history, winning that and sending out the biggest threat in this game to win is one more crowning achievement that I had in this game. I was really good at making relationships, keeping my target safe, and making myself a desirable number, even if I was no one's priority. And that was how I played this game. And those are the moves that I'm the most proud of.
Thank you very much. And Kat?
I have several big moves. I think during the pre-merge, especially, it was agreed upon who we were going to vote out, but I believe that I did come up with Tyler and Caitlin. Strategically, I just felt like there just wasn't a path forward with either one of them, even though Tyler spent a lot of time trying to talk to me about saving him. But ultimately, I decided that the one person that should be saved from Canavar 2.0 was Alex. And in my earlier confessionals, I talked a lot about how good I felt with him. And then when we got to the merge, aligning with him and Tamara, Tamara first with the Vixens, Alex next with Romeo and Juliet. I felt like those were strong moves on my part because the three of us had the same mindset that we wanted to navigate through this game together. We wanted to get out the big threats because we knew we had no shot to win otherwise. I knew that because I'm not a challenge beast. I never won a challenge, even though I've been close several times. The only thing I had to rely on was my social game and my strategic game. So we strategically made moves together. We voted together 6 times during the merge. And one time during the 5 times during the merge, 1 time during the pre-merge, all together, all solid. As soon as I created ATC, I knew this is it. This is my path to the end. If you rearrange the letters, it spells cat. I mean, you can't go wrong with that, right? But by far my best move was convincing Brian to play the idol on me after we tied in that challenge. God, is escaping me now. I'm sorry. Haven't had enough sleep. But the challenge that we competed against each other, that we tied, we had a conversation. He was trying to make a final deal with me. I said, okay, sure, I'll hear you out. We had a conversation, and I said, you know, if we're going to do this, would you be willing to play your idol on me? And he said yes. So I convinced him to play his idol on me and not on Malkin, not on Alex, not on Tamara, not anyone else, me. And he ultimately did. I wasn't expecting him to. I honestly didn't think it would work, but it actually did. So that was definitely my biggest move. And, you know, obviously proving myself in a strategic social sense. I mean, that was also, and making the moves at the right time when they needed to be made.
Thank you very much. And Tamara?
I would say that my biggest move was telling Kat about Jason's idol. That was one of the biggest moves that I've ever made because immediately it changed the trajectory in which that I was super close with Jason, with Esteban, and I forged a new connection with Kat. Another big move was telling Dave about Jason's idol as well. By telling Dave and Kat about Jason's idol, I was able to not only still be interconnected with the OG Canavar side, but also have access with getting more connected with the OG Sahin side. By leaking that information, I was able to set myself up to push forward and be integrated within everybody's plans, being in alliances with literally almost everybody in the cast. And I was able to navigate that while playing the middle ground essentially, and never having my name brought up all until the final 5. Then my next biggest move was convincing Brian that I, in fact, voted for Dave. And telling Alex and Kat that I voted for Dave did make Brian believe that I was working with him, that I wasn't going against him. But Malkin saw right through that. Brian didn't. And essentially, he decided to keep me safe. But when the vote came 4-1, he noticed that I was actually really close to Alex. And that's what got him to realize, like, oh, shoot, Tamara was actually really interconnected with the whole cast. Now I have to try really hard to win this final immunity challenge. And so that's why he sent into overdrive. He called out everybody in this game, why we were all big threats. And it was only him that he could only win the final immunity challenge to get to the end. Unfortunately, he didn't. Alex did. And I was able to get all the way to the end without ever being immune. Not once.
Thank you very much, Tamara. Okay, next up we have the wonderful Malcolm.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Malcolm. Your 10 minutes will start now.
Okay, so first off, I'm going to talk a little bit about me just for a second, and then I'm going to move on to all of you. So the first thing is I want to say something that drives me when I play these games is the fact that I want to prove that I'm just as good as someone who has a working heart, a fully functioning working heart. 3 years ago, I was unexpectedly diagnosed with a thoracic aortic aneurysm, which just basically means one of my valves is getting too large to the point where it could have killed me if it wasn't caught. So that's something that drives me when I play these games. And something I connect to with other people is hearing about their stories and what drives them in these games. I don't want you all to answer that question, but think about it as you're going throughout the rest of this night on what drives you specifically when you play these games, because I want to hear your personal stories. Incorporate it into your final speech, incorporate it into another answer, whatever you feel like doing. I don't have time to ask that right now. We're going to move on to the actual questions I have for you, but I just want to start off with that. My first question goes to Alex. I would like to know, what do you think a great social game is, and give us an example of how you embodied that in this game.
What I think, just so I'm clear, the two-part question is what makes a great social game, and
what do you believe a great social game is?
I suppose in its most reductive form, a great social game is a game that people recognize that they enjoy you, they enjoy talking to you, they enjoy working with you, and they don't see it as they don't see your social game as something worth voting out. I think it's a very delicate dance of saying, hey, I can benefit you. Hey, I appreciate you as a person. Hey, you and I have mutually aligning goals in this game. And not only do I strategically work for you or work out in your favor, but socially, like getting someone to want to work with you, that's social and also strategic, but also not being so social or so good socially that people want to get rid of you. That to me is that, or is it? And to me, I just explained my game. I feel as though for the majority of the game, I was very few, if not nobody's priority, probably until like the final 7. I was always an option. And once I realized that relatively early on Sahin, I was like, I don't need to be anyone's final 2. I don't need to be anyone's final 3. Just right now, I need people to want me to stay in this game and for me to not be targeted. And I did that in a way where I didn't want to, and I didn't need to make alliances absolutely everywhere, because to me, that's never been something I've been great at, but it's also never been a form of playing the game that I have liked or that I have particularly enjoyed. And usually when I see someone doing it, I'm usually pretty quick on realizing someone's doing that. And for me, I'm like, if I'm aware you're doing it, that's too obvious. And to me, it's not as... I tried really hard only to socially extend myself to people that I felt I could really connect with and that I actually wanted to work for towards the end. Making alliances with people and then immediately voting them out right afterwards, that never attracted me. And to me, that is a good social game, and that is what I did.
Awesome. Okay, Tamara, my next question's for you. What do you think is a great strategic game, and what is something like an example of what you did to embody that this game?
A great strategic game is to not be afraid to spill everyone's secrets. For example, telling Kat about Jason's idol, telling Dave about Jason's idol was a great strategic move for me because it strengthened trust in Dave and with Kat and made them lose trust in Jason. Another great strategic move that I made was making sure that in the Baddies Alliance that you didn't realize that I was actually close to Alex by pushing that I was closer to Kat, which was true. I was closer to Kat than I was to Alex, but I also wanted to make sure that I was playing both sides, where I had my ATC alliance and I also had my Baddies Alliance, and I didn't want anybody to know about it, and nobody did. Kat didn't find out about the Baddies Alliance until Dave told her at the final 6, and Alex wasn't aware of the Baddies Alliance until Brian told him about it at the final 4. I made it all the way to the final 4 without ever being brought up as a strategic not true. Oh, well, if that's not true, if you were aware of that and you still decided to keep me around, that's great for me, because you didn't want to take me out until the very end of the game. And that is why I believe that I played a really great strategic game.
Okay. And then finally, Kat, my question actually got asked by Tiruz. So on the spot, I'm trying to think of what is something that you want to take away from this game that you think you learned about yourself?
I think something I learned about myself is something I always kind of knew, is I talk too much. I need to rein it down. But also, something I'm taking away from this game is every single friendship I've made in this game. Everything was 100% real. Every conversation I had with you and everybody else in this game, especially in the merge and the pre-merge, absolutely 100% real. I expect to be friends with you all after this game is over. So I'm taking away the bonds the most, probably, from this game. I came into this game wanting to have that, because I remember what it felt like in my second season, building lasting bonds. I'm still friends with them to this day. Those are the things I wanted to take away from this game. If I won, that would be great. But ultimately, I wanted bonds. I hope that answers that question.
I honestly thought that question up on the spot. You're fine. I don't really have any other questions. I have nothing but adoration. Congratulations. You all did what I couldn't. So obviously I have to give praise where praise is due. And I get to vote for either a person of color or a woman to win. I can't. I'm thrilled. So I'm ecstatic. So just take everything with pride and stride, and just remember that we'll be here and we'll have a fun reunion. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much, Malcolm. There we go. Next up, we have Brian.
Quick question.
Yes.
Just because I wasn't entirely confident how to handle it, there were some inaccuracies in Tamara's answer that I wanted to address, but I didn't want to interrupt her. And now that Malcolm's gone, I'm like, oh, no, we can't. So if someone says something and I want to chime in and provide some clarity, if not accuracy, to the situation, how is that supposed to be handled?
So if that happens, what you need to do is obviously let the finalists finish speaking, and then ask the juror, do you mind if I add something to what's just been said? And then that's up to them to say yes or no. If it's a no, then you add it to your final speech at the end.
Okay, cool. All I will say is that I knew about Tamara's Final Four cross-tribal alliance before the Final Four. That's it.
Okay, thank you. The next person I think is Brian.
Hey guys, how's it going? First off, I would just want to say congratulations to all three of you for making it here. Regardless, you did something to get here, and don't let that get lost on you, no matter the outcome tonight. But first, I'm going to go into I have specific questions for each of you. So I'll start with Alex. My biggest problem voting for you tonight is I feel like you almost never got what you wanted in the game, like you kind of already had said. I feel like each round you pitched something, and it never really came to be the plan that actually went through at the end of the day. So do you think I'm wrong in thinking this? And if so, was there a vote before the final five where you feel like you were able to push your own agenda and get what you wanted out of the round?
So here's the trick. I understand why there would be some concerns over the fact that when I did push for certain people to go, that what I was hoping for did not actually pan out. That being said, I got what I wanted several rounds in this game, and that's not even like in the entirety of the game, but literally from the merge on. There were people that I preferred to go, but that doesn't mean that the person who ultimately went was not someone I was sad to see go. That being said, I was fully aware that there were cross-tribals alliances as early as the live night. So for me, I very much was just like, at the time, I was like, I'm not entirely confident where the cross-tribal alliances are. So I'm going to put that out there. I'm going to say, hey, what about voting for this person to try and gain that information? The only votes where I strongly pushed for someone to go strongly pushed for someone to stay and they didn't, was Esteban's vote. I actively pushed towards Esteban staying because Esteban and Tamara had pushed for a person of color's alliance, or person of color alliance, which initially I was like, I don't know exactly how to feel about that, but it is a valid concern because Tiru had just left. And the fact that Esteban was being targeted immediately afterwards as one of the only other people in the game with an accent and from another country did make me feel very uncomfortable. That being said, I was pushing for Esteban to stay. And even though we had just had a conversation of the 3 people of color, myself, Tamara, and Esteban staying in the game, within an hour, Tamara reached out to me and said, if you can't save Esteban, you know, it's cool. And I was like, so that definitely cued me in that Tamara was definitely wheeling and dealing all over the darn place. So for me, I was just like, and also it was a little disappointing because if I make a person of color alliance, I'm going to want to stick to it. The only other time that I did not get what I wanted in a vote was with Steve, because Dave to me was the only loose end left in the game. Dave to me was the only person I did not have a strategic alliance with. That being said, I knew that Steve was a tremendous threat in the game. I also knew that Steve was a little bit willing to stab anyone in the back because Steve was very, very strategic. So for me, even though I would have preferred Dave to go, Steve absolutely had to go anyway. So even though the only person that I really pushed for going was absolutely those 2. Amy going was disappointing because, and to Tamara's credit, she was working with y'all to make sure that idols got played and that people left. Amy wasn't who I wanted to go, but yeah, everyone after Tiru was someone I was never particularly close with on Sahin. So when he left, it was a bummer because that was a very emotional tribal council, but under no circumstances was I close to Tiru. If anything, it was a relief that it had been Tiru, just because I know that the margin for working with other people, for you, for Malkin, for Steve, was slimming, because I know for a fact that Tiru is closer to Steve, and I knew that you and Malkin were very closely working potentially with people on the other side. So sorry for the long-winded answer. Ultimately, not everything went the way I would have preferred them to go, but ultimately I still was very, very content with almost every vote out from swap on.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So next I will go to Kat. Kat, I feel like your narrative this game involved a lot of Jason broke your agreement from day one, so Jason had to go and Jason was whatever. And then the same thing happened with Dave, a similar thing with Steve's. And then when it came to mine and yours agreement, when I agreed to play the idol and then you said you would vote with me at Final Four, you broke that agreement and didn't even give me a warning, even though there was no idols at point of the game. Do you find that to be hypocritical since you had those earlier situations?
I'm not sure if critical is the right word, but I will take your word for it. It is your truth. I understand. The reality of the situation is that I had already had a final 3 agreement that I didn't want to reveal at that point in time. And I realized keeping that from you was probably something that didn't sit well with you. And I'm sorry for that. But I will own the fact that I felt like you would have won this game. You should be in my seat. Had you been in my seat, you would have absolutely won this game. And for that reason alone, I had to do what I had to do. You by far were playing the best game out of everybody in the cast, period. So for me, it had to be that move. And it came at expense, but I'm sorry about that.
No need to be sorry at all. Just wanted to get some clarification on that. And then so for Tamara, you definitely had me completely shook when you had voted for me at the final 6, because I didn't expect to get a second vote, as you could tell from my reaction. I did end up putting it together that it was you, just because I kind of connected to the dots, and Kat also had confirmed it to me as well. But kind of walk me through that vote and why you decided to put a vote on me, and what made you lie about it after the fact so heavily?
At the final 6, I wanted to take you out so bad. I was like, Brian's literally gonna win this game. He's literally won so many immunities, found an idol. I am terrified to take Brian to the end, and I wanted you to go. And after Dave came to me, and you came to me about voting for Alex, I didn't want to vote out Alex. I wanted Alex and the cat to go to the end because we agreed to go to the end together. Plus, I wanted to slay the baddies one by one, and I wanted to start with you. So I made sure I wanted to get you to play your idol, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think Kat, Alex, and Malkin are actually secretly working together. Bullshit. And you caught wind of that. You were able to suss that out, and you didn't play your idol. You switched your vote from voting for Alex to voting for Dave, and you literally did that. You literally slayed that. I wanted to lie to you right after, because in my head I felt that lying to you would get you to not want to vote for me, and it would like get you to have like some sense of having trust in me, that you would still want to vote out Malkin and Alex at the final 5. However, the fact that you were able to figure it out that I did end up voting for you that round, I still wanted to save face, maintain that lie, because I felt that coming clean to you was different from Kat coming clean to you about voting for you. Because if I'm coming clean to you about voting for you at the final 6, then it could have like psychologically caused you to rethink your decision to not play your idol on Malkin, and that's why I was so adamant and insisting that I pretended to vote for Dave.
Gotcha.
2 minutes remaining, Brian.
Okay, so really quickly, I'll do one more question then. For all 3 of you, quick, like 30-second-ish answers. It's, what do you think your biggest risk that you took in this game, and why was it a risk worth taking? Alex, you can start. Quick 30 seconds.
Why do I have to keep going first? Biggest risks that I took in this game was not pushing more. Well, now, oh God, I'm sick of going first all the time. No, my biggest risks were, I don't know, I didn't take too many risks in this game. And I feel like if you play a very strong social and strategic game, like it's obviously more flashy, it's more showy to take a lot of risks, but I tried to put myself in a position where socially and strategically, I didn't have to. I think my biggest risk was trying to go against Dave at the final 7, just because I figured there's a good chance that you were going to take all the information and everything I was saying about Dave and run it straight to him. And to my understanding, that's exactly what you did, which is why for the most part of the game, I had the mindset of loose lips sink ships, which is why I was happy to accept information, because like I said, I was never a priority to people. I was an option. I took that information and just not committing, not making every last alliance that I possibly could in the game. That was risky because people could have easily gotten rid of me because I wasn't aligned with them. That was the biggest risk.
Okay, Tamara, go ahead. Sorry.
So the biggest risk that I took was letting Esteban go at the final 9. I did want to save Esteban, and I did want Esteban, Alex, and I to be like the remaining POC and have an alliance together. However, there were some conflicting variables that couldn't allow me to keep Esteban in the game. First of all, Esteban and Jason were being heavily targeted at the final 9, and that I figured that they were going to be targeted. That they were going to, if Jason went home at 9, Esteban was still going to be
targeted. Time, Tamara, please stop talking. Brian, your 10 minutes are up. Thank you so much. Sam's going to come send you back and then bring in Sam. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I froze. Oh, he's gone. He's left. Okay. Next up, we have a short statement from Amy, because Amy can't be here. So let me just find that. Okay. Alex, you were always very nice to me. I hope you win. That was Amy's. Right. Next up, we have. No, we don't. We have Dave.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. I'm gonna start my time. I'll actually start with like Kat. Why don't you just give your riskiest moment as well? 30 seconds to finish up. Brian's thing. Yeah.
Thank you. My biggest risk in the game was definitely during the scavenger hunt. Willing to get the idol clue. Willing to give up points to get the idol clue, because I felt like we as Canavar really needed it. And also, in addition to that, the other risk came also on that challenge when I took the risk to give up my vote to get points back. Those were my biggest risks in the game in terms of that. So that's how I would have answered that.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, you all look wonderful. I'm so stoked to see this final 3. You all, I'm just like, I feel like I'm excited about this final 3 in particular, because I feel like each of you is sitting next to like kind of like the best two people to be sitting next to, and finding out that you did have this alliance together is just, it's a thrill for this stage of the game. Like, it's just very cool. I think, you know, like, I guess in these games, you know, it's like, I understand why I went out when I did, you know, it's like, I understand the kind of the mistakes I made and where I overplayed or underplayed and got sloppy and went to dinner instead of showing up to tribal council to know that I should have put a vote on Brian. Like, all of these things, I recognize my own mistakes. So I'm just curious, like, if you do, you know, because this is honestly, like, I can't tell where the vote is going tonight. I can't tell who's the front runner, who's winning. It's very tossed up. You all played a strong game. That's a very even playing field. So I'm curious, if you are to win tonight, if you are to lose tonight, if you find out that you don't have the votes from the jury and you find out that you lost this game, what do you think is the reason? What do you think would be the main reason that you lost? Because we're hearing a lot of interesting answers on why you should win. And this is just, I'm curious what you perceive as maybe where your weaknesses were. Tamara, you can go ahead and start on this one.
I would say that one of my weaknesses in this game of like, if I were to lose this, I would say that it was because that I wasn't able to strongly articulate how I felt, why I deserved to win this game. I have a hard time giving speeches. I have a lot of social anxiety, and it's hard for me to speak in front of a group of people being live on camera. Regardless, I literally also am a cam girl, so being on camera isn't that hard for me to talk about and articulating myself. So I'd say that would be a reason why I would say like is not articulating why I played a great strategic and social game. Physical game, I was horrible, but strategic and social, I'd say that I was excellent in terms of being able to be pretty much clocked as somebody who was playing the middle ground the entirety of the game and yet not getting a vote until the final 5.
Cool. Well, great answer. I think you're doing great tonight. I think if you're feeling anxiety, it doesn't show. Kat, what about you? What do you think would be your weakness if you were to lose tonight?
I mean, my weakness was always challenges, puzzles for sure. I really struggled in the pre-merge with that. Endurance. I have a lot of physical limitations, so I knew I wasn't going to do well in that department, and people may or may not respect that. So I had to rely on something else. And so that physical weakness, that weakness and challenges in general, is something that maybe the jury might not respect. But ultimately, I think if I don't win tonight, it's because one of the other two deserves it better.
Cool. Great answer. Alex, how about you?
For me, I feel as though if I don't win, it could just be that when I'm speaking and when I'm trying to articulate, especially when I know I'm on the spot and there's however many people who may be watching, I know I have the capacity to come off as potentially intense. It's not my intention. It's really nerves. It's absolutely social anxiety. And part of why I wanted to come into this game and I wanted to do well was because a lot of times I find myself saying, I can't do this, or I'm just awkward, I'm weird, I'm different, I don't particularly speak well. And part of what drove me as far as wanting to play this game was to tell myself, even if you get voted out, that's not something to feel ashamed about. It's not anything, it's a game. And I recently, as recently as 2022, I just found myself saying, I take myself so seriously. And I just wanted to come in and not do that. So to answer your question, as far as if I were to lose, I feel like so far I've already become a little impassioned a couple of times, and that could potentially throw off some votes. That being said, if that happens, so be it. Part of getting to the final is articulating and making people want to vote for you. And if either one of these ladies happen to do that better than me, there is nothing but love. There is nothing but support. I'm so happy to be here. And then the only other thing I can think of is, yeah, if anything else, I wasn't as vocal about trying to make alliances. I wasn't as vocal like, oh yeah, let's keep this alliance together, just because for me, I don't like making alliances that I know I'm going to break. That's just kind of a personal thing for me. I know in the Survivor fandom that is potentially social suicide, because everyone loves the person that goes in and just makes a million deals everywhere and just makes it to the end because of those deals. That wasn't it. And I think to a certain extent, I may have been viewed as somewhat inactive, or if nothing else, my schedule between sleep and work was just not ideal. And I think where a lot of people had the opportunity to really build strong connections, even with people that they weren't working with, not to make the excuse, but yeah, I could have intensified or strengthened, if not alliances, in certain relationships. And if any of those things cost me the win tonight, as I said, my cup is very full. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm so proud of the three of us. And there is no bad blood. I'm happy for whoever wins.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm very proud of all three of you. Continue to, give good answers. I do feel like for several jurors, it is kind of a live vote tonight. So keep owning your game and just talking about the moves you made, talking about why you deserve to win. I can tell I have some time left, but I'm not going to waste anyone's time. I had a jokey question that I'm not going to use. I'm just going to say
You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not going to do my jokey question.
You could use a lighthearted question if you could.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
No, I won't. All right. Last thing I'll say is that's all, Yokes.
Yes. You
Love
did.
Love it. Love it.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
We needed that one.
You just cracked an egg. I don't know.
He cracked a joke. That's what he did. Anyways, so next we have one of the casualties from Live Night. We have
Oh no.
Jason.
Oh no. Hi.
Hi, Jason.
Hi, friend.
Hi. I'm first of all just love the three of you. I want you to know I know you've been waiting for me to pop up on the screen the whole night. First of all, I'd like to take a commercial break after Dave's little joke, and I have a joke of my own. Tonight's final tribal council is brought to you by Kentucky Fried Chicken. We do chicken right. And also, have you seen this woman? All right. Now, with that being said, let me get to my questions. All right. And I'm going to be very quick, and I'm going to cutting people off because I do have 2 questions for each of you. All right. And I only have 10 minutes. All right. My first one, and Alex, you're going to get to go last both times. All right. Cool. All right. What I want to do first is ask you guys about social connections. All right. To me, those are very important. I think you guys all know that about me. Socially, I'm probably one of the stronger people in the cast in terms of building and developing relationships, where then I may have to break them or have to bond, like Alex, like you said earlier, right? So with that being said, Tamara, you're getting my first question, and be succinct. It doesn't have to be long-winded. What did you learn about Steve besides being in marijuana sales?
I learned that he is divorced. He lives in Oklahoma, but lives right close to Arkansas. He and I briefly got to talk on the phone. We didn't really get to talk on the phone as often as I would like because of his work schedule, and that's what I learned about Steve. I know that he's a little bit of a flirty player. He flirted with Alex. Not necessarily. He was just asked if Alex was single, told him that his butt looked good in that dress that Alex was wearing. I was like, yes, slay. He asked me that if I was single, and I was like, I'm single, and he was like, why? A pretty girl like you deserves to have all of the boys running to your light. I'm like, oh my gosh, Steve, don't gas me up. But yeah, that's something that I learned about Steve.
Awesome, thank you, Tamara. Kat, what did you learn about me other than being a teacher?
Teacher, that you're very passionate and that you love everything you do. You put your all into everything you do. Your drive, everything is completely admirable to me. So that's what I learned about you.
All right. Thank you, Kat. And Alex, what did you learn about Dave other than he's a very talented video editor?
I was going to say, I didn't learn anything other than that, because as soon as he beat us in that challenge, he was dead to me. I'm kidding. So I learned that Dave lives in Los Angeles. I learned that Dave has been working in the industry. He's lived in the LA area. I want to say minimum 10 years. I might have flubbed that. It might not be entirely 10. I definitely know that Dave is a beer fan. Dave definitely is a big fan of drinking beer. That's definitely, if I remember correctly, which is always possible, I'm not. That is his libation of choice. I also know that he is an editor on Rick and Morty. What else? I also know I always get his home state mixed up. So I'm just going to say the Midwest, even though I'm not 120% sure all the states that are involved in the Midwest. I know that what was it? He played in a live action Survivor game. I believe it was after you got voted out. It was maybe a day or two, or maybe a round or two before he got eliminated. I know he's a soft-hearted, sweet man. I also know that he is unafraid of stabbing a blank in the back if he needs to, or if it benefits his game. He wanted not to come into the game and do that this time, and I just think he's an all-around great person. But I feel like I'm already gone too long because you have 3 more questions, so I'm going to stop talking.
All right, thank you for answering those questions. I'm a firm believer that social connections matter. So, and I think you guys probably knew that going in. So, with that being said, here are my pointed questions, and you knew they were coming. So, Kat.
Yes.
Here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think your crocodile tears were effective at my tribal? Why or why not? Especially when you told other people that I talked down to you.
I don't really remember that, and I'm sorry for not remembering that, but I wasn't trying to be anything but authentic, because actually losing you was really, really difficult for me. And having to make that move was very difficult for me. But because I felt like we lost something along the way, that ultimately I had to make a decision for myself. And that's just the truth of it. And sorry that it came at your expense, but I generally respect the hell out of you. You have to know that.
I appreciate that. I do want to say this, however, that if it wasn't for you helping me, give me that clue early on, right, that idol would not have been in my possession. So first of all, thank you for that. And if I betrayed your trust, I apologize. But I do also want to say, Kat, if you want to pretend like you were going to be a mastermind around finding idols, that's not what you were. So keep that in mind if you're saying talking down to people, whatever. And I'm trying to be as kind as possible right now, because you trusted me with that information. So, and I did exactly what you wanted me to do with it for the good of the group. So I want to leave it there. Tamara, did you honestly feel that lying to the Canavars was going to earn you respect at the end of this game when there was so much talk about Canavar staying strong?
I did feel that I wanted to go to the end with Kat and Alex, one person from OG Canavar, one person from OG Sahin. I wanted to make sure that if it wasn't going to be me who win, I wanted to have at least a woman or a person of color to win. And it so happens that after like I leaked to Kat about your idol, I wanted to make sure that this is like the decision that I made. I'm going to have to go forward with it because number one, I was already interconnected with the alliance that I had with Esteban and Alfie. And when Alfie was running around telling that, oh, I want to vote out Jason. And you came to me the round where I was at the beach and you were like, oh, did you hear that Alfie was like throwing my name out? I was like, no, because I wanted to keep that alliance under wraps. And I wanted to keep my name under wraps as much as possible, with being somebody who was going around making alliances with everybody. I feel like I deserve respect in the sense that I wanted to transcend the tribe lines format, where in the beginning of this, when we went to the first swap, it was very much tribe lines based, and it made sense because it was 4-3 and then 4-2 over at New Sahin. I wanted to transcend that. Once I realized when I got to the merge that after telling Dave about your idol too, he wanted to work with me all the way to the end. So he let me in onto the Baddies Alliance, where I was working with Malkin, with Brian. I also had a little bit of an alliance with Steve. And it made me feel that even no matter where I go, everybody would want to take me super far. If it so happens that it had Dave didn't decide to flip, we could have still all gone to the end at Final Five, but because Dave had flipped, I had to reevaluate. I had to reassess my priorities and decide I need to keep rapport up with Brian, with Malkin, with Steve, just to ensure that when you and Esteban left, that my name was still under wraps. Nobody wanted to come for me.
I appreciate that. I just want to get Alex's question in. Alex, I want you to think about why, honestly, do you think I pulled you into the breakout room on the night that you voted me out? Considering that I never once wrote your name down and you wrote mine down 3 times.
Yep. So I don't know how much time I have left. I will say you pulled me aside because you and I did have a very, very genuine connection between talking about the Sin City Classic, between talking about being an educator and the fact that my father was a teacher for 37 years. You and I had a very, very strong connection. That being said, I feel like you pulled me aside, A, because of that, and because B, you saw me as the potential person that could save you. That being said, you had a lot of votes that round. And even had I voted with you, you still would have gone because you were perceived as a threat. And ultimately, between the Caitlyn vote and then the fact that you wanted me to vote with you and that you were upset that I voted for you, both around the Caitlyn went, and then also the round that you played your idol. For me, I was very much just like, I know that you feel as though I owe you something because of the Tyler situation. You told me that Tyler was voting for me. I figured Tyler was voting for me. And even if he hadn't, I was still going to vote for him regardless. So and I also knew that if we had gone to one more tribal council before the merge, zero question, unless something magic happened, I was going home. So as much as I appreciated you in this game, as much as I loved getting to know you in this game, I knew that there's a difference between being a priority and being an option. Whatever is below an option, I felt like that's what I was for you. So for me, it very much, as a person, love Jason strategically.
Time. 10 minutes is up.
Sorry.
Thank you, Alex.
Good luck.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. Let me remove you back to backstage. Oh, he's gone. And last but not least, he's clapping his hands together. He's getting ready. He's doing his hair. I'll give him a second. We have Esteban.
Hello, everyone. Good evening to all of you. First of all, let us all lose our fear, because you don't need to be scared at this moment, because you have already did all the worst thing that you can do on this game. This is the last challenge. This is the best storyteller game, and who will prevail. So I just need some awareness, some ownership, and conviction to all of your answers in just 30 seconds or a minute. Let's stop the fairy tale, because I know you are all good at that. And let's stop going to limbo, because the 3 of you are really good at that. So first of all, congratulations to all the jury, because they are the very worthy players to be at the final tribal council. And congratulations, of course, to the 3 of you for having the best game of all. And that is to be a scapegoat. The best game plan ever in this game. This is just all game. I love you all 3, but that's just the truth that I dig on the conversation that we have right now for the Q&A. So you are all a shadow with no bones and meat. A shadow with no body at all. Just like a ghost. That's what you have played on this game. Now, I want you to react on this, and you might agree to it or not. This is not my words. This is your words, and this is your answers and what the jury thought about you. Let's start with you, Kat. I am just breathing hard because I am actually drunk. Yeah. So this is you. I should not ask any question to you, but out of respect, I will ask you. So here we go. People thought that, or you thought that you have a lasting bond, but you don't actually, because if you have a very strong bond with people, some of the people don't ask a question to you at all. You are annoying, you talked, but you never listen. This is what I have been digging, okay? You are kind of pretentious because you are good at everything, as you said, but you win nothing at all. You thought you knew everything, but actually, based on the conversation right now, you knew nothing on your big moves. And what you ever said, that your big moves are not yours at all. People are talking to you because people know that you are untrustworthy, and because you always have these crocodile tears. Okay, most of your game is talking too much and having emotional breakdowns, and you are at mercy of all these players. 0 votes because you are never a threat to anyone, even to Alex and Tamara. That's why you are here with them, I guess. You are with a final agreement with everyone, and your biggest risk, you said, is your idol clue that never helped you in your game at all. So tell me, what do you think of all these things? Do you agree on it or not?
I agree because perception is reality, and that is your perception of me, and I believe that you're 100%. That's how you feel. I'm not going to tell you to feel another way. I'm going to own, certain things in this game, and you'll see that in my closing speech. And I'm willing to own everything that I did, and every bond was real. So if you think for a second it wasn't, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry to give you that impression, but it definitely was.
All right. Thank you. Tamara, you put something into your work. Is that true, or you are just riding to the people's game at all from the entire thing? You are strategic, as you said, but people thought that you are untrustworthy. You are socially aware, but you are not socially connected to people, as reference to Jason's question about how you really knew about, is it Steve or someone in this game? You are people thought people like you, but they don't know why they do really like you at all. You are good at promising, but you are not keeping on all of it. You are a hidden treasure, but you keep hiding until the end of the game. Your lack of conviction and sense of being, just like what you've said. You don't know how to articulate things. And that's probably a weakness of you. People don't take you seriously and don't understand you at all every time that we have our tribal council. That's the truth, right? Because you are poetic. You are inconsistent. You are a very good liar. You have a weak jury management because you have lied much to Canavar, to me. Because I thought that we are close, and at the end of the game, you lying to me until the last minute is not a very good management at all. So tell me, people of color advocate, I doubt. Do you agree or not?
I agree with the statements that you have made, and like the jury's perception of me. I do believe that I haven't had all of the time to really get to know people on a much more deeper personal level, because I was raised in a household. I have a workaholic mom. I have an alcoholic dad. It's hard for me to really like connect with people on a deeper emotional level, because I struggle to feel deeper emotions like empathy. Empathy is one of the biggest emotions that is hard for me to grasp, because of like my life experiences plus plus my brain chemistry plus not being in therapy, addressing that lack of empathy that I feel for other people. I was a big liar. I wasn't afraid to lie to get myself to the end. I was willing to lie
30 seconds.
to get. I was willing to lie. I was willing to backstab. I was willing to be a snake, to be a rat. I was willing to do all of those things. Um, up here, like to be, it was really hard to, because I did really want the People of Color Alliance to come to fruition. But after Thiru talking to Jason, saying that, oh, we should get rid of Tamara because she's a big social threat, that was a really hard. That was really hard. Like, and gave me confirmation, like, oh, maybe it's not a good idea to work with Thiru. Final 9 comes, and you and I like had a bond. Like, we were literally ET all the way to the end, and I really wanted that to work so bad. However, there were so many conflating variables. Like, for example, you and Alex didn't get the chance to really bond as much because you wanted to keep Tyler over Alex during swap to Canavar. Secondly, Jason and Alex were like were constantly on par with each other, and I know that you were really tight with Jason so well that all the plus with Dave wanting to come for you, it was like I am in between so many alliances where I am working with Malcolm, with Brian, with Kat, with Alex, with Jason, with you, and I felt I am so secure that by letting you go, I will avenge you by taking out the baddies alliance one by one. And I did. Everybody wanted Steve gone, and I wanted Brian gone. I didn't succeed in getting Brian to go, but Dave went instead, which was great because the baddies started targeting each other, and I was able to get Kat and get Alex on my side to take out Malcolm and Brian. And we all worked very hard together to get to this point. And unfortunately, you were one vote where I felt really sad about, because the People of Color Alliance did mean something a lot to me, especially since it was two people, one Indian and one you being from the Philippines, going back to back. It was really hard, and I wanted to take that risk because I wanted to take that risk, because even though the risk to lose could have been higher, I also felt like I deserved that chance to win.
All right. Thank you so much, Samara. So I am the trash that you need to throw. Thank you for that. And now, Alex.
Oh, God.
You always say, if the wheel happens to land at me, so be it. But the thing is, you are never in the car at all. You are always missing in action. Your plans were never worked because you said you got what you wanted, but you got it by chance and not by your own doing. Your thoughts and your voice never counted. That's your word, right? People are saying, and your actions are telling differently, that you are strategic at all. You might have the pre-merge votes, you said, like Tyler and Caitlin, but it is not by your own doing again. It is Kat who has been telling it's Tyler and Caitlin. So you are always at the mercy of every people here. You know nothing at the touchy subject, and that attests to what your gameplay, I guess. You know nothing. You are socially able, but you attach to others, but not to some. You even don't know when you are like kind of picky to whom you want to talk at all. Your glass is full, as you said, but in the jury, it seems like half empty on our view. You have won immunity because all the threats are gone already, except Brian. Besides your hand signal, as just one of the jury said, they don't nothing about you and your game plan. Besides the swap move that you did, there's nothing at all there. You said that you're an advocate of people of color, just like Tamara. You throw me under the bus. You're not pushing more. You are not taking the risk. That's your word a while ago. Maybe you are just so scared on playing the game at all. You are inconsistent and kind of vague. And we personally have no very, very strong relationship. Those are the words that has been gone throughout this Q&A. Not to me. I love the three of you. Those are the words that I just gathered a while ago. Now, comment on this, Alex.
I am more than happy to, at the very least, give my side of things. I love that you're being so bold and saying these things to us, and that's not to kiss ass, just because I was expecting significantly more questions like this. So I'm glad it's finally come up. As far as being picky on who I spoke to, I attempted to talk to everybody. There were players that seemed infinitely more interested in getting to know me as a player than others. And the players that showed interest in getting to know me were the people that I honestly wanted to work with more. Because again, I always knew I was an option for almost everyone in the game, but I was not a priority to almost anybody. And after a while, I was like, oh, maybe I should do something to change that. And I was like, no, this is great. The fact that I won the Final Four immunity because all the threats were out, that wasn't by accident, as you mentioned before. That was literally by design. So I will wholeheartedly acknowledge that, yes, the round that you went, I did not want you to go. I pushed for you to go. I pushed in Sahin for you to stay, and they were not having it. And Canavar as well were also not having it. So at a certain point, I can wholeheartedly embrace the fact that, like, yes, I set out to save Esteban. Esteban was not saved. That clearly shows there was something lacking in, if not my strategic game, then in my social game. Wholeheartedly own that. I definitely wanted Steve to stay the round that Steve went because I saw Steve to be beneficial to my game. I pitched to Saheen. They were not biting. I pitched to Canavar. Kat had left her chat with Steve. There was only so much that I could do, but ultimately, I knew I wasn't in trouble because of the relationships that I had formed in the game, and because situations where I was like, I'm not entirely confident what's going on this round. There were competitions I absolutely threw. Touchy subjects, I figured there's a chance I could do well just because I'm familiar with multiple people. That being said, after live night, I believe that's when touchy subjects happened, was the first round after live night. And I was like, I didn't want Esteban to go. Esteban left. Jason obviously left. I'm not entirely confident where things are. All I want is to not be a target and to not be viewed as a threat. So absolutely, there were absolutely questions where I was like, they're probably going to realize that I'm throwing this competition, but I also didn't care because I knew what my perceptions were of both people. Other than Dave, I had relationships with everybody in the game. That being said, I was more than happy to absolutely get last. I didn't think I was going to score a 0, but I knew I wasn't going to do well. And that was purely, directly, and intentionally so that I would not be viewed as a threat. Same thing with the skull game. It was one part, I only had 35 minutes, and I also was just like, hey, if I happen to go out first in this competition, that's potentially beneficial for me because I don't want to be viewed as a threat. If I go out first in this competition, we're good. As far as the Person of Color Alliance, I was committed to that. I fought for you to stay because to me, if you're going to propose a Person of Color Alliance, that is very important. That is very meaningful to me because as a person of color watching Survivor my entire life, I'm used to the one, if not maybe up to 3 people of color until we got all the way up to Cook Islands. I'm used to just being like, wow, they either make the jury, maybe, but it's rare that they win outside of Vesepia all the way up until Earl Cole. So when someone proposes a Person of Color Alliance to me, even if it's not the most beneficial thing to my game, after Tiru left and you were being targeted, that mattered to me. So any flack that I am getting for not acknowledging the Person of Color Alliance, I pushed for you to stay. So I can't express that anymore. If people still want to use that as a reason to potentially not vote for me, that is entirely their gift is their vote. They can do with their vote whatever they want. And as far as any person on the jury who right now is like, I don't know that I particularly know things about Alex. After the merge, Steve and I had a conversation and he physically said, I feel like I don't know much about you. And that is because I deliberately asked questions about people. I wanted to get to know people. I wanted to form bonds with people. And if somehow magically in my attempts to get to know them, if they never ask questions about me, I'm not going to force information about myself onto people if they're not going to ask those questions. So I feel like with certain people who are like, oh, I don't know where to go. I have alliances with everybody. Yeah, I didn't struggle with that nearly as much as other people because I wasn't trying to make alliances every last where I possibly could. So for me, I hear everything that you're saying. I embrace everything that you're saying. And I smile at everything that you're saying because yes, you're not inherently wrong. That being said, everything that you mentioned was by design and intentional.
All right, thank you, Alex. And I just would like to say I appreciate you telling the truth that I am going out on that day. Only the one person who told me. And thank you so much. So the jury gave me another time for this. So last one. Give me 3 words, just 3 words, Kat, please. Tamara and Alex. 3 words. Why you are there and why I am not there. Let's start with you, Alex.
Oh, damn it. So 3 words for why I'm here and you're not here. 1 word?
Yeah, the first one.
1 word why you're not here and why I'm here.
No, 3. What's your first?
3 words why I'm here and you're not here. My social connections.
2.
Oh, sorry. My social connections. Sorry.
Okay, 3. Go. All right, Tamara.
I'm sorry.
My strategic game.
All right, Kat.
My willingness to
Out of
Persevere.
3. Okay, let's just do it again. Kat.
Willingness to persevere.
All right, thank you so much, Kat, Alex, and Tamara. That is just all social game. After this, I love you very much. I had fun with you guys.
I love you too.
Okay, thank you very much, Esteban, for that extended jury portion. And congratulations, final 3. The jury portion is over now. I'm going to hand it over to Jean. John, are you there?
All right. Sorry, I am here. I had to reach. All right. So we are now going to do our closing speeches, and we're going to do them in reverse order from what we did the opening speeches. All right. So that and wonderful Megan will be in charge of your guys' time again. So this time we will start with Kat.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, Kat, your 5 minutes starts now.
So I didn't have anything written for this. So everything that I'm going to talk about is straight from the heart. Every single bond that I made in this game was real, and I fully intend to hopefully have relationships with you when this game is over. I came in as a complete underdog. I had no physical ability. I had only my social and strategic game, which, you know, at times could be perceived as being flawed, but in my mind, they were the best moves for me. You know, I formed the alliances that I wanted to. Unfortunately, some of them didn't work out the way I wanted them to. But every single alliance that I even wanted to be a part of in the pre-merge, I fully wanted to go all the way to the end there. It just didn't work out because of different circumstances in the game that were out of my control. I wasn't trusted with certain information because people thought I would leak it, and that's not true. I would never leak somebody's information that wasn't mine to be talked about. And if I did, then, you know, I'm sorry for that, and I'll answer for that, and I'll own that. I will own every move that I made in this game. In the pre-merge, I did drive a lot of the votes. In the post-merge, I was a part of the Amy vote, the Tiru vote. The all of that was things that I had in my mind that those were the best moves for me because number one, there was no path forward with them in my mind. And number two, I just simply didn't want to give them false hope. Now, some people, like Jason and Esteban, could perceive, you know, that I was a part of their vote for whatever reason, whatever they believe. But the truth of the matter is, I fully wanted to work with them. It just strategically for me, I had to go with the numbers, and that is the only reason. It was not about anything that they did or did not do, except for Jason not trusting me with his idol because I definitely would not have leaked that information had he just told me. And I realized that yes, I shared that with him, and I fully believed that if he had found it, he would have used it to the best of his ability. Unfortunately, he decided not to tell me that he found it before it was played, and I had to find out another way. And that kind of changed everything. So I will own having to make that decision when I did to be a part of the vote to vote him out. With Esteban, like Alex, I wanted Esteban to stay so much. He was not the person I wanted to go in that spot. And I'll own that till the day I die. With Dave, had Dave just voted with me and Tamara, he would still be in the game past Brian because there was a plan to make sure that Brian went out at 6. Unfortunately, he went rogue. But Dave is somebody that I definitely wanted to go to the end with. At some point in the game, our things went different ways, but he was always he was honest with me before he left, and I appreciate that so much. With Malkin, Malkin is the sweetest person on the planet, and I believe that he also deserves my seat, just like Brian. But for me, being a part of those votes to get those two out, was in my best interest, because had I not, they would have definitely been where the three of us are sitting. It said 1 minute. Okay. Really, that's all I have to say. But, coming in as somebody who knew they weren't going to do well in challenges, knew they weren't going to do this, knew they weren't going to do that, having the health limitations that I have, I felt like I had to do what I had to do to get to the end. And I will own every bit of it. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Kat. Next up is Tamara. Tamara, are you ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, your 5 starts now.
I just want to say thank you to the jury for all of your questions. I'm so glad that as we are about to close it with this final tribal council, just want to take a huge breath and just say, wow, I'm so damn proud of the game that not only Alex and Kat played, but I'm so proud of the game that I played. To survive the 20s, what I call the 20s purge, in which literally everybody who were in their 20s got voted out back to back to back in the pre-merge, to like be able to survive that pre-merge and get to the merge and get all the way to the end feels like a huge accomplishment. As somebody who feels so unconfident and unsure of herself, and I just like wanted to say to like the little girl who was just so depressed at 12 years old, to coming into myself and transitioning and loving myself and being in tune with myself, that I'm just so happy that I made it to the end, that this is my first time going to the finals. I've been playing orgs for about 2 years, and to finally get here, it just feels like an accomplishment. If it's not me, then I'm glad to take the L next to Alex, next to Kat. With that being said, I really hope that you do vote for me, because I truly believe that I played a diabolically strategic game, and I just loved being the queen villain of the season. And I hope that you as the jury can see why I decided to go to the end with Kat, with Alex, because I believe that I have a shot against them, because if I wasn't sitting next to them, I don't know if I would have the same shot with anybody else who were sitting on the jury. Maybe Alex, maybe Theru, maybe Amy. But because it was hard to get in touch with them socially, I didn't really see. I could see anybody from the final 9 onward getting to the end and proving why they deserve to win. In regards to the Person of Color Alliance, I do want to reiterate, I do feel like I really wanted this alliance to work, and in a moral sense, it hurts having to betray Esteban, your trust, knowing that had I stuck by and had I stuck with you, that it was going to make me lose rapport with everybody else in the game, and I don't think that I would have been able to get to the end had I pushed harder to keep you safe, due to the fact that Alex and Jason, they were on par. You were close with Jason. Dave flipped. Steve, you weren't as close with Steve, but I was strategically connected to Steve. This complexity where it's am I playing the best strategic game? Maybe, but in the moral sense, I feel like I could have done better, and I will do some introspection after this is all over. So I'm really grateful, and yeah, thank you so much for having me, production. I'm just so happy that this is the final 3. Love you guys.
Alrighty, thank you, Tamara. And then last up is Alex. Alex, your 5 minutes will start as soon as you take your drink. And now.
All right. I just want to say, regardless of how tonight goes, my cup is very full. I will have 0 complaints If Tamara or Kat are somehow able to acquire more votes than me, obviously I want to win. Obviously, I feel like I played a game that is deserving of votes. But however it shakes down, y'all have your own vote. Do with it what you will. There's nothing but love. I'm so proud and so honored to have been a part of this game. There are no bad feelings. And in my opinion, there's no wrong way to vote. And I can't stress that enough. That being said, I'm fully aware that my game was not perfect. I'm fully aware that to some people, if what makes a deserving winner is the person who says that person needs to go and that person leaving, I wholeheartedly understand why not, or why, if you have that mentality, why voting for me might be a tough pill to swallow or might be an uncomfortable vote. I completely understand that, and that is why I have no bitter feelings towards it. That being said, just because I had a preference of options did not mean that I was not okay with who ultimately went in the rounds that I made a more vocal attempt to see someone leave. For me, what makes a great winner is the ability to pivot, the ability to adapt, and the ability to make any situation that happens to them work for them. And I feel as though that is the greatest, if not one of the greatest strengths of my game. I knew everyone was like communicating with everyone. I was fully aware that people were constantly taking information that they were getting and passing it along to people to try and build trust with each other, even at the chagrin of the person whose information they were effectively giving away, potentially without their consent. And in this game, there was a lot of that. What differed, I believe, in my game, and mostly, or what contributed strongly, that drink is slowly becoming a bad idea. What contributed to me making to the game is I was constantly given information. I didn't take it anywhere. I didn't send it anywhere. I didn't try and throw people under the bus because I knew in this game, knowledge is power. And I took the knowledge that I was receiving and I was not throwing it out to people. And I understand that that is part of what made me, and I'm sorry if people are annoyed because I keep saying this, I'm fully aware that for a lot of people, I was not bringing them a lot of information. And for me, that made me an option as opposed to a priority. I was perfectly fine with that. I was perfectly comfortable with that. Me being a person who has a very, very big personality, a very, very big mouth, I was like, how do I balance the fact that I do like getting to know people, that I do like talking to people, that I love making people laugh, and that I absolutely love this game? I wanted to play in a way that would make me less conspicuous because my personality is very, very conspicuous. So I understand if people are just kind of like, oh, he could have done this. He could have played a more obvious game. He could have made bigger moves. And if that is the type of style of gameplay that you value and that you appreciate, I wholeheartedly understand that. And there will be no bitter grapes for anyone potentially not voting for me. That being said, I feel as though I played a very, very straightforward game. I did my best to not have to betray people, to not have to lie to people. And ultimately, the people that I had the strongest connection with were the people that tried to cultivate a more lasting and less surface level relationship with me. So that being said, I'm very proud of how I played. I'm very proud of the two ladies sitting next to me. And yeah, for the most part, I understood that people were trying to throw each other under the bus. And I knew that I could build stronger relationships with people when they would tell me things, even if it was the tip of the iceberg. Oh shit. Even if it was the tip of the iceberg, which, let's be honest, most of you would tell me like the barest information to keep me informed and to keep me potentially wanting to work with you. I kept that information under lock. I didn't throw people under the bus. I didn't try to manipulate people. I didn't try, well, that's a lie. I did manipulate people here and there to make them think that I wasn't like trying to play a manipulative game and that I wasn't, or that I was perfectly at peace if the wheel landed on me, which is a phrase that I used multiple times in this game. I wanted to shrink my target at every left turn, and that is what I did. My head was in the game. My head was in the strategic game. I fought so hard to just keep my mouth shut when I needed to and to figure out ways of people that needed to go when they needed to go. So when, what was it? When in instances where Tamara says, oh yeah, I voted for Alex, but Alex was,
that is time, Alex. Thank you so much.
Nothing but love all of you. Do what you got to do.
Okay. All righty. Thank you.
Y'all miss me. All right, here we go. Well, final three. It's officially out of your hands. Jury, now is the time for you all to submit your votes for who you want to win this season. Apparently, my Wi-Fi sucks. All right. Here we go. I'm going to hand this off to the jury.
I got no words for once in my life. Cheers. It's over. Thank God. Honey, y'all, you guys brought it, okay? So no matter what happens in this game, know that I respect the living hell out of the both of you, and this is why I wanted to go to the end with you too, because you guys, for me, made the most sense as the game progressed. So adapting to try to figure that out, you know, I'm just saying, you guys know how I feel about you. I don't even have to say it. I love both of you, and you guys held up very well. That was a tough tribal. I was expecting it to be, but I think we all handled ourselves pretty well. So, cheers to you two, and I love you, bottom of my heart.
I feel as though all three of us came, we showed. I appreciate the both of you. If anything that I said seemed pointed or directed at either of you specifically, there's nothing but love. I appreciate you both. And as much as I am a competitive person who loves to win, Kat, my friendship with you means so much. Tamara, you are everything.
Mm-hmm.
Even if our strategic styles don't align or don't agree with each other, I don't care. I just think the world of both of you, and whoever wins, whether it's me, Kat, or Tamara, I'm just proud of the three of us for making it happen. We are a very diverse final three, and I'm here for it. So nothing but love, and I'm proud of us.
I love you, babe.
Love you both.
It's
Part of me is like, ooh, I feel like Alex may need a little bit of a wardrobe change, so I will be right back.
Hey, do what you gotta do. Tamara, you look really, really beautiful.
Thank you. So do you.
Thank you, honey.
We all look beautiful. We all look stunning. I must say, I am so happy that we all made it here. It feels bittersweet to know that this is literally the end, but I can assure that all three of us, I'm so proud of the games that we played. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm just so happy. I'm so happy that like we did it. We did it, y'all. Like, we don't have to do anything. We just need to chill. We just need to let the jury like vote for who they deserve or who they deserve.
Check 1 2 2 testing. Does that sound any better?
Yep.
Yes.
It may be the end of the game, but it's not the end of our friendship. So just keep that in mind.
For sure.
You guys are my family, as is everybody in this cast is my family. So, but you guys, I know we got this, and I know we're gonna be friends for life. You guys both have my phone number, so, and I have more people to give my phone number out to, should they want to talk to me.
I will wait for Alex to get back, but I have the votes.
I'm back.
We're ready.
All right. So, like I have said before, this time you want to see your name. Here we go. First vote. Alex. Second vote. Tamara. That's 1 vote Alex, 1 vote Tamara. Third vote. Alex. Fourth vote. Tamara, we're tied. 2 apiece. Fifth vote. Alex. That's 3 votes, Alex. 2 votes, Tamara. Sixth vote. Tamara, we're tied again. Seventh vote. Alex. That's 4 votes, Alex. 3 votes, Tamara. 1 vote left. Final vote. And the winner of season 4, Alex. Alex, congratulations.
Told you.
You are the season 4 champion of Triumph Azerbaijan.
Congrats, Alex. You deserve it.
Congratulations, guys. I am not upset at all that I didn't get any votes. Surprised either. So y'all thought I was going to be the winner. Clearly, Alex is the winner. So I have nothing but love for you and respect for you. The jury made.
I just ruined the clasp on my dress.
Alex, just take it. Just soak it all in, sweetie. You got this. I told you would kill it. Did I not tell you?
Kat, you are icons. You are so amazing. I love both of you. Thank you to the jury. Thank you to production. I thought I was going to be one of the first 3 out of the game. I'm shook. Oh my God.
Congratulations, Alex. Congratulations, Tamara on runner-up, and congratulations, Kat on second runner-up. You guys are all amazing. I'm so happy we had a final 3 of all women in POC. I think this is going to be really great for representation in the org community. People are going to see that, you know, it's not always just white or straight people or men in the finale. So you guys were awesome.
I love you guys. Congratulations. Okay, Megan. Shall we end the broadcast?
So now we're going to move to reunion. So the live stream is going to end. Sorry to viewers and everyone. You guys don't get to be there for the reunion. But I'm going to start a Zoom in a minute. So everyone just wait. I'll send it to both the jury and the tribe chat and the pre-jury.
And there are awards.
Yay.